With the upcoming release of the new Demon Slayer movie, I kind of wanted to make a ranking of the worst to best fight scenes in the Infinity Castle arc. Starting off at number 7, we have Obanai and Mitsuri versus Nakime. This fight was, in my opinion, the most boring and blandest. It had very little panel time during the entire fight. Obanai managed to try to strike Nakime once. Her ability is just moving trapdoors and such. I get that her goal was to prolong the fight, but it wasn't interesting. It had very little substance, but it was nice to see Mitsuri and Obanai team up. 6. Kokushibo versus Yorichi. Now, the setting of this fight was very badass. It takes place during a lunar eclipse in the middle of a field, with a blood red moon in the background, and this cool looking tower. It was just awesome when I was reading it. Kokushibo basically yapped about how Yorichi used to be so powerful, but also how far he's fallen, becoming weaker as the years go by. They fight for just a short moment before Yorichi straight up passed away mid-fight, going down at his own terms like an absolute legend. Now, the next one is Moichiro and Genya versus Kokushibo. Okay, this fight was by far the most uneven matchups I've seen in Demon Slayer, because you got the number one upper moon, goddamn Kokushibo, against a really powerful Mt.hashira and a demon eating slayer, but man, it wasn't even close. They stood very little chance of defeating him, which makes it so brutal to read and watch because of how much they got clapped by him. I mean, having your favorite character die in this fight is just horrifying and sad to think about it, but it is what it is, and this was overall a really great fight. You can feel the struggle of the characters here, and that's what I like about this fight. Now, next up, we have Kano and Inosuke versus Doma. This one was satisfying to watch because of how well choreographed the fight was, and Kano proving herself, also trying to avenge Shinobu's death. Inosuke also got a huge lore drop with this one, and it's sad how his backstory unfolds, especially of his mom's. It is just a lot to take in, honestly. I like it more for its lore aspect than the fighting, but Doma had a bunch of cool blood demon art, which is nice to see. Before the fight, Shinobu injected more than 700 times the lethal dose of poison, which is enough to weaken him to get beheaded, ending the fight in a well-deserved manner for Doma. Now, the next one is just Aura. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. By far one of the most anticipated fights in Infinity Castle, well, in my opinion, where Zenitsu is at his peak. He uses his thirst for vengeance, remembering what Kaigaku did to Grams, and the anger Zenitsu felt during the battle was one of the most badass moments I've ever seen. We also get to see Zenitsu using his newly developed 7th form, which he uses to kill Kaigaku, which was pretty badass. We also got to see Zenitsu's backstory into further depth as we get to know why Kaigaku turned out the way he did. I also got to talk about how Zenitsu calls out Kaigaku's apparent bullshit of not wanting to share the inheritance with him, which is insane to see Zenitsu getting super angry, which is something I really like about it. And he finally got his shit together. Oh my god, bro. He squared up to Kaigaku, humbled him, and got his redemption arc. Next up, Shinobu versus Doma. The first and one of the greatest fights we got to see in Infinity Castle. It's basically just a bunch of back and forth arguments about how shitty Doma sees humans, and her trying her best to defeat Doma. You could feel her anger clearly showing because of the fact Doma killed her beloved sister Kane, which of course she doesn't take lightly, and wanting to get revenge for her death, which was, let's be honest, pretty cool. Also, the way Kanao stabbed Doma in the eye mid speech was very cool. And even after she fell during that battle, the ghost of Kane aura farmed and told her to get up and continue the fight no matter how she felt. And she did her part, weakening Doma enough for Kanao and Inosuke to kill him later on. Now, the best fight in my opinion, Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza. This is by far the best fight in all of Infinity Castle, and maybe even Demon Slayer. There's plenty of things I love about this backstory, starting off with Akaza's past. This one was one of the most emotional and sad backstories I've ever seen. We saw how Akasa's dad died despite his best attempts to take care of him, saying he needs to be stronger in order to not be caught stealing. His father unfortunately hung himself after hearing about his crimes, and he just basically goes on a rant about how the world is unfair to poor people and how they're apparently not even allowed to live. After that, he meets Keizo, who founded the Soryu style of fighting, whom Akaza really respects. That's where he also meets a girl named Koyuki, a sickly person where, after spending a long time with her, eventually healed her and finally takes her to see the fireworks that they both wanted to witness for a really long time. That's where she makes a very heartfelt confession, but shortly after that, the people he loved and respected got poisoned, and distressed by this, he goes on a killing spree, murdering everyone in the nearby samurai dojo. That's where his dark side finally shows. Now we go to the current battle where we see a great struggle between Giyu and Tanjiro trying to fight this tough demon, making fast maneuvers, quick thinking actions, and hits that nearly kills the both of them. This is truly the best of the best. And in this climax, Akaza frustratingly regenerates his head and continues onwards. By this time, Tanjiro falls unconscious, leaving only Giyu to try to kill him. But ironically, what kills Akaza was not a sword, but a punch caused by Tanjiro. It suddenly reminds him of his past and his failures to protect the people he so loved. And Koyuki begs him to stop what he was doing. Throughout Akasa's life, he have been marred by unfortunate events, terrible losses, false promises, and the death of Keizo, Koyuki, and his dad. This guilt was what caused him to kill himself. He really wanted to be a good person, but he keeps going back on his words, not intentionally. He tries his best to prevent being a bad person, but there was always something keeping him from promises. And in his imagination, his dad said to him, "You're my son. I'll accept you no matter what." Tanjiro and Akaza are both men who shared painful backstories but chose to take different paths which lead them to this moment. And that is my reason for putting this at number 1. Wow. Well, that was my ranking for the worst to the best fights in Infinity Castle. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a great day and take care.